All right. Welcome back, everybody. Grab your drinks, find your spaces. We're going to settle back in. All right. All right. Hey, friends. So we are going to get started again. That was an amazing and hilarious set by Brother Terrain, whom I didn't get to tell you, but opened up for Zarnagar and Akash Singh. Now, I don't know Akash Singh, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about him. But Zarnagar. So, please welcome back to the stage the brilliant and hilarious comedian Brother Tareen. He's popular also, so he's making his way slowly. It's all right. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
This has been great. Like you brought the levity and definitely the additional humor component, right? So
Yep, the black shirt to be nice and dramatic, you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, you
serious?
dressed up for the drama and everything. I love it. You came with your style.
Thank you, and you
It's a
look
good
really
thing.
nice. I'm very underdressed. Oh, thank you,
Absolutely not
sweetheart.
at all. You're perfectly dressed.
Thank you.
And there you go. You even got served and everything. Look
Yep,
at
yep. Served by some Arab woman, right?
that. Right.
Which is her Instagram handle, not a slur.
That is true. That is true. All right. So let's just start with this. Have you always been funny?
Probably, I guess. I don't know. I mean, in school, I guess I was sort of a class clown, if that makes any difference. But I don't know. I was funnier more like if there was like a lot of people, like if we had to give a speech or something, like high school graduation or something, I can get laughs. But that's why I like to do plays, because I always like to be the funny line or whatever. But if it was like in-person communications, I was never perceived as the funny one. I was like the nerdy egghead kind of kid in school, like, you know, because all my siblings were smart and I did okay in school. And that's why they kept electing me class president. Like, just pick the egghead, you know, it'll work out.
At what point did you realize like that humor was your thing?
In terms of like stand-up comedy, I did that right when I turned 30. I had a just like Rolla, I had like a Marvelous Miss Maisel crashing kind of moment where I was going through divorce and I wanted to, like, you know, when you go through something like that, it's like, what's my identity? Who am I? Because I was tied to somebody else and I had this vision of what my future is going to be, and now it's gone. It's like, what do I like? Who am I? And so I started going on stage. The DC Improv had this class called 5 Minutes to Funny, which I did, and I loved it. I'm like, okay, this is with me for life now. I'm hooked. It's like an STD, but in a good way. And I loved it. And so I just started performing. And it was kind of cool because it's a couple of years ago. I started out in the 5 Minutes to Funny class, and now I have my own show at the Improv at the main stage, which is so cool. Like, thank you. It took me like 10 years to get there, but yeah, so I think that's probably how I got started.
That's very cool. And I've seen that show. It's an amazing show. We're going to talk about it a little bit, right?
Right.
Browntown.
Browntown, yep.
Powerful show. But so, you know, all of it being brown and so much of your identity being a part of your story. Let's talk about that. Like, right? You're
Let's
a
do it.
brown boy.
Let's bring on the pain.
In North Dakota. So,
yeah.
Pain, maybe?
No.
Where was that? What was that like?
You know, it's hard to talk about it as a particularly painful experience because I have no other frame of reference at the time. Like, at the time, that was just normal. It felt fine. Like, I was the youngest of 3 other people who were Pakistani who were very, like, nice and successful. So, like, I also come from privilege because my dad is a doctor in the community. So you can't say anything that mean to me because he won't do your stitches right. So I had that privilege, and it actually started feeling more weird when I went to predominantly South Asian events, like Pakistani events. Like, there's this thing called UPNA. It's like the Pakistani Doctors Convention. It's a big deal, by the way, in America. And I started going there, and that's where I felt out of place because I was like this North Dakota country rube with like flannel, and I drove a 1992 Ford Bronco and like way past after OJ did. Like, it was not a nice car, and I didn't have designer. I didn't know what that was, and I'd wear my state speech T-shirt competitions, like shirts at the conventions where people are dressed up in Gucci. That's where I felt out of place.
That's so interesting though, because it's such a difference, I think, for some folks, right? But I think like even feeling out of place with your own people is an interesting experience. Tell me like more
Yeah.
about what that felt like.
Yeah, it felt weird. And it felt out of place. So I went to Pakistan too, because I speak the language well. But then again, I did feel out of place in North Dakota sometimes as well. So I guess my normal is feeling out of place. Like during the month of Ramadan, like I'm the only one fasting, and they don't understand that. And they're like, "Why does your breath smell bad?" I'm like, "Well, I got this holiday." You know, like, "Yeah, we got holidays, we get presents." I'm like, "Yeah, we go hungry for 30 days." And so we got this thing, and then they're like, "Well, when's Ramadan this year?" I'm like, "Well, we go by the moon, so probably next week." They're like, "This sounds made up, right?" So it was really hard in that sense. Like I would fast, and I had things about my culture that I was proud of. Like my name, Buther. Like nobody called me that growing up because I had a kindergarten teacher. I never forget this. On the first day, this was the '90s. This is before they had any kind of DEI. It's probably going to go backwards now, but at the time, she goes, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Buther." And she goes, "I'm just going to call you Botter. That's easier." And everybody called me Botter all the way up to 12th grade. I couldn't shake it. So, it's not the worst thing in the world, but like, that was different. That was a little uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. So and then and college itself, like what was that experience? Did that shift? Did it change? Did it kind of stay the same?
Well, I went to college in Fargo. So not entirely. I know I make a lot of series of poor choices, but no, I was very happy there. It's a complicated relationship because I'm generally quite happy with my life, and I'm quite happy with growing up in North Dakota. I still have friends I keep in touch with. I've known since I was 6 years old. They came to my wedding, my big Pakistani wedding. They were like the 6 out of place white people out of the 500 people. So like I'm still happy about that, but I don't know. I just look at it as the normal. Like I was always kind of, like my normal is I'm gonna be different, so let me just adapt to it. And
Yeah. And does it come in like when you do your comedy, because you start to tap into your own brownness a lot in your comedy and the stories of brown stories. So like how does that all connect for you when you start to talk about those things?
I think I joke about the things that I just find interesting and I'm surrounded by. And my wife is like the most Pakistani woman you'll ever meet. Like she's extremely Pakistani. So like I'm actually rediscovering my culture in a way that I didn't have before because I have her in my life and her family. So that's actually kind of cool. And now it's so funny. Like you joke about the things that are immediate in your life. So before I met my wife, I was doing stand-up comedy about dating. I did a lot of dating material. And I had my wife on like our 5th date, watch me do stand-up, talking about dating. That never should have worked, but it did. And then after a while, like the dating stuff, obviously when her and I were getting serious, like, okay, this doesn't feel relevant anymore. So what's interesting? And now I talk a lot more about my son. And obviously some stuff about politics, but I'm not a political comedian because I do that all day at my job. So
right, a little escape.
Yeah.
So, your son is adorable. And shout out to Marva.
Yep.
For being your muse and all of your a lot of help with your comedy routine here, which I love.
She's a rock star, by the way. She works at Johns Hopkins. She's a doctor with a master's degree. And she was named Washingtonian's top doctors for a 2nd year in a row. So
all right. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So now you are still making up no rounds, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Right. She has literally double the years of graduate school education than I do.
That is awesome. So, but Browntown came out of something. Tell me about like the birth of Browntown for you as a comedian.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I noticed there is a large community, especially South Asian and Muslim community, who like to see comedy, and no one's catering to this community. I'm like, what is this? Because even before when I met my wife several years ago, like I was getting booked for like birthday parties or like weddings or something. I'm like, there's a way to get money out of this, but also give people voices and opportunities to be heard. So when I first started Browntown, it was a bit broader. Like I had all kinds of voices, and I still do. Like I did this thing called the Capitol Fringe Festival called Why Are You Brown? So I had comedians who were Black and who were Middle Eastern and Latinx and all that stuff. But most of the time, Browntown is South Asian because it's a perspective that I find interesting that's not represented here. So there was no Browntown here, and I'm thinking, well, this is stupid. So I went to the DC Improv. I'm like, hey, I got this idea for a Browntown. They're like, who are you? And I think, okay, fair enough. So Zarna Garg, who I opened for, she's a comedian, is very successful. She gave me advice. She says, brother, the only thing they care about is ticket sales. I'm like, okay, I got it. So I went and I started a show Browntown at the DC Comedy Loft with another comedian. Her name's Jasmine Burton, very funny. And we did the show together. It went well. And then we both wanted to do our own thing. So then I expanded to Union Stage, and every single show I've ever done is sold out. And what I also, thank you. And what are the reasons thank you. One of the things I like to do differently with Browntown is I get men and women who are South Asian predominantly, although we have other races, and who are all like really solid. Like almost every comic can headline, but then I'll usually get one comic who's kind of starting out to give them a chance. And then I'll always pick one white comedian, like as like the diversity hire. Everyone else is of color, and the DEI, right? I can get fired for doing that. And what I do with the DEI comic, and they know it's coming, is we get them to do their set. We're nice. I'm not a jerk. And after they get up, me and another comedian of color put that white comedian on stage, and we ask them like horrible questions about race and about being white, just on the spot. And it's funny. They love it. They know they don't know what the questions are going to be because it's new every time. But like but they know the horrible questions are coming, and the comics love it. Like I have white comedian friends come up to me all the time, like, "Can I be in your next show?" So it's fun. And the next show we're doing is at the DC Improv, April 23rd. So it's 300-person room. It's big. We sold out last time. I'm pretty excited about that.
And get your tickets. That's an amazing show. And you're not lying. Like that last bit was hilarious. Very honest and real. And truthfully, when you looking at this flip of conversations on race, right, it's pretty cool. So I mean, with that, people often think like a funny Arab show is only for Arabs, and a Browntown show is only for brown people, right? South Asians. How do you feel like you've seen that expanding in your audience?
Yeah, and can I tell you something? I'd say only about 60 to 70%, which is still a lot, but that's how many South Asians we have in the crowd. We get a lot of people who are of completely different backgrounds. We get a lot of people who are Black. We get a lot of people who are Middle Eastern, East Asian, Polish people, because they're immigrants too. So there's like a lot of like overlap in terms of the immigrant experience. We get a lot of people who are like in their early 20s, people in their 60s. Like it's kind of a huge range of audiences, but it's predominantly people of color. We do have some white people. They're welcome, of course. But everyone's welcome. But yeah, I would say about 60 to 70% is South Asian, and the rest is just like a mix of everybody. Because it's just something different. Like how many other shows do you get where you get two brown people like questioning a white person? Like I'm a lawyer, so I make it like cross-examination type question, like. And some of them can be just silly, like, what does sunburn feel like? Or, other questions can be like, hey, you're Polish. Is that like the community college of being white? Like silly, mean questions, and good fun.
And good fun for sure. And they are hilarious. So, I mean, like with this, do you feel like you, people of other races have come to you and they've said how they've understood South Asian people better through your comedy? Because what I liked, and I have to say, like when I watched it, what you do is you're really intentional about such dynamic stories of South Asians, which I don't think you see. Oftentimes we see one person with one story and one country and one religion, right? But it's so expansive in your show. How does that impact other people's lenses of like that larger awareness, right?
Yeah, and that's really important to me too, because I get it. Like in South Asian culture, like we kind of know like, oh, we got to make fun of our parents and the way they talk. And I have like one joke about it, but like for the most part, I want to kind of expand that beyond just, oh, we're just the children of immigrants and we have to study really hard. Like there's more to this story that's interesting. So I try to get comics of color who are also in the LGBT community as well. So there are South Asians who have that experience, or I don't just try to do men. Like I try to have pretty close equal men and women experiences, because what they go through with in our culture, but also in American culture, and they're just overall perspective is just interesting. Like I'm just interested in voices that are different than mine. I just find that interesting. Not even just on a civil rights level. Like I just find that interesting. Like there's a show like Rami on Hulu, right? It's about this guy who's Egyptian, right? I'm not Egyptian, but it was so fun to watch that because there were so many commonalities between what he was going through or what I was going through. Or there was a show called Shrill about this white woman, right? I'm not white, I'm not a woman, but like there were things about that she went through. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like I've never seen that before. So I don't know.
I love that, right? Because there's universal themes that we all go through in
Right.
different experiences. I mean, that's the whole idea of pain to power is honestly the universal things and pain that everyone is experiencing in some way or another. So with that, you talked about your civil rights, being a civil rights attorney. Does that come into the shows for you and into your comedy?
I mean, it probably just comes more tangent in the sense of like, I'm not trying to push a certain agenda. There's other comedians who do that really well. Like there's this one comedian, I have to give her a shout out, Elizabeth Booker Houston. If you don't know who she is, she's a big influencer and a funny comedian friend of mine. She is very political and very socially minded. Like, I don't know how this woman does it. She's a professor, she's a lawyer, she's a comedian, and she does like 12 posts a day about the newest legal issue and political issue. That's her space. She's crushing it. That's just not me. Like, I do civil rights stuff all day. I just want to laugh. I think the civil rights part that comes out is I just want to have different voices and different types of voice perspectives and not just one single monotone thing. So that's probably where it comes out.
I love that, the DEI of comedy, right? Like
Yeah.
that's it, the expansiveness. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, so in addition to comedy, though, you're a filmmaker.
Yep.
So tell me, like, you have a current film that
I
you
do.
are working on,
I
and
do.
tell us a little bit about this film.
Yeah, so it's a horror film. I know it's like, it's weird, right? It's like Jordan Peele started this thing where he's like, yeah, funny people are all messed up inside and we all love horror films. Like if you talk to comedians, I would say about like 4 out of 5 of us like horror films too. It's a weird thing. I feel like there's a common nucleus that is in both horror and comedy. Like there's like a commonality. Like they're both about the weird and the strange and making some experience out of something that's inherently uncomfortable, right? Like horror makes you something uncomfortable, comedy has that, but we just react to it in different ways. So I love horror. I'm a big fan. Jordan Peele was obviously a big inspiration for me just because of what he did. Like a guy who was not known for being scary, just knocked it out of the park with Get Out, but also like told his perspective and told his story and about his experiences. I'm like, well, fuck, can I do that with me? Like, can I do that with my experiences and what's true to me? So what this film is about, it's a lot about generational trauma. So the whole setup is that for those of you who don't know, in Muslim culture and South Asian culture, there are these supernatural creatures called jinn. Okay. I see the Pakistani woman's nodding her head. So in our culture, like jinn are these creatures who are like their own race of beings, right? And they are all over us. We can't see them. They can only be seen if we want them to be seen. There's basically like 3 kinds of beings, just like angels, humans, and jinn. And they're in between being angels and humans. And some of them are evil and some of them are good. And everybody has their own jinn that like whispers bad ideas to them. And I thought, why have I not seen this in horror? This could be really interesting in a psychological way. So I want to do a story about a guy whose brother and dad both pass away. And him and his sister, his mom, and the sister's girlfriend all go to this cabin. And the jinn start tormenting him. And he starts getting DVDs posthumously from his dad saying, don't trust your mom, don't trust your sister. And as he finds out more about his family history, stuff that's been kept from him, from his family, he starts going mad and starts getting paranoid, and the jinn come along. So, because jinn come when you're more like upset. So it kind of comes out. I know I'm not doing a great job pitching it. I promise you it's good. But we're still working on it. But yeah, we plan to shoot it in June. But the simple story is it's a psychological horror film about jinn and family secrets and trying to find who you are.
I love that. But, and I mean, I'm a little scared too, but especially when you said jinn, for me, I'm like, that just like triggers a whole lot of feelings of like the fears of childhood.
So for those of you who don't know, like, especially in Pakistani culture, jinn are used all the time to make us not do things. Like if you're a woman, they're like, don't wear perfume because it'll attract the jinn. If you're at night, don't go near the trees at night because the jinn live there. Like all kinds of weird things, like everything they try to make us do or not do had something to do with jinn. And I thought that'd be so interesting, is like, what if we took some of those things and made it into a story?
That truly reverting to all of the triggers of punishment that South Asians have in their
particularly against women. A lot of them are for women, but yeah.
True. But so generational trauma, like I think even in South Asian culture, that's a thing. That's
Absolutely.
a thing. So tell me, like, what have you done any research on that, or like, what's the connection for you in understanding that in the South Asian community?
Yeah, I mean, I've read some things, but I've been lucky enough to just known a lot of people, and they tell me their stories, and I know people who I never forget this. Just weird experiences that are more common than they should be. I mean, there's of course people taking their own life, or fathers who leave their families, and that's a big thing in the South Asian community that we don't talk about, or people don't like to talk about. Or there's sometimes information is not always communicated to their kids. Like, I'll never forget this. This was like before I met my wife. I was in my early 20s. I went on this date with this really nice young woman, and she told me the story. She goes, I'm 24, but I just found out that my biological mother died when I was 2. And this woman who raised me is my stepmom, and they never just told me about it. Like, I just thought she was my bio mom this whole time. And I just discovered it right now by going through some old pictures and going through Pakistan. She's like, no one's ever told me. I never told anybody that. And I just was so like, oh my gosh, that's happened at least 3 or 4 times. I know, where like we'll adopt someone's, like your cousin, like your aunt will like adopt you, and that your aunt will be your mom, and you just never know that your real mom is over there and is actually your aunt. Like things like that we don't communicate to our family and stuff like that. I found is a form of generational trauma, and something that hasn't really been explored, and which this film does. I'm trying not to give away things about the film, but there are big
Right.
plot points that.
But that's absolutely, like, I agree with you. I actually do know exactly that same story of people,
Really?
right? I do. I have a friend. I remember growing up as a child that was something that happened right in their lives.
That
But
literally happened where they had a parent in the
like
parent.
a parent that had given them up, and then we were actually adopted by an aunt, right? So like a
Yes.
family member. And it's common, right? But
Yeah.
I think it all comes back to the secrets piece, right? There's a
Right.
lot of secrets, and I'm thinking of what Rolla said about the idea of perception and how that comes into secrets being kept in that generational trauma piece. And so let's forward it to your dad,
I am.
right? You're
I
a
am.
dad, and you have your son. He's amazing, and that's
Yeah.
awesome. Like, what have you like learned and understood or wanted to do to raise him as this brown boy in America now, and living where you are, right? It's so different than your own upbringing.
It is different in upbringing, because like North Dakota in the 1990s is like 1950s New York with little less racism, but pretty much the same thing. Like it's like Leave It to Beavertown. You ride your bike and you just go off for the day. Like you can't do that. Now you have to drive them to all the different things that they do. I'll be honest, my wife and I are figuring it out. The bizarre thing is, the older you get, the more you realize, shit, my parents were kind of right about a lot of this stuff. Like 80%, they were kind of right on a few things. I'm like, oh, I got some notes. But overall, it's kind of just figuring out every day, imparting the values that we have. I mean, that's the great thing about my wife and I, is we're just like on the same page on so many of these things. Although she did say something that kind of terrified me a little bit. She said, this is real. She said, okay, our son has to be both a doctor and lawyer and buy me a penthouse in New York, and our daughter can do whatever she wants.
I love that. I mean, but so like, what are some of those things? Like, what are those lessons of parenting that you're starting to see are like they align with who you are, and the things that you might question about and like be like, I want to do that differently.
Yeah, I guess I communicate with him more about our feelings, which has backfired to me, because I'll like, one time he was like, because I tell him a lot, like, hey, that hurt my feelings or that wrong. And then one time I was handing him some food, he knocked it over, and I said, hey, that's very disrespectful. Don't ever do that again. He goes, you hurt my feelings. And then he went and he closes the door. I'm like, God damn it. Maybe I should just not tell him that, So it's a challenge of like, I'm trying to explain to him, like, no, you hurt my feelings and you were wrong. Like, they're just trying to figure out, like, how much do I tell him about expressing yourself, and how much do I tell him about my process? Like, I sometimes just told him, I said, hey, my number one job is to make sure you turn out correct, like a good person who's not annoying. And if you keep getting what you want, you're going to be annoying. So stop being annoying. And so, like, am I telling him too much? Like, probably. He's 4. How's he going to get that? So I think that's my challenge. Like, am I over communicating? Like, my parents did under, so I should probably like be in the middle.
But that's a balance to figure out, right? And let's be honest, right? Like, it's a big learning curve, parenting in itself, and there's no handbook. So like, I have 4, and honestly,
Yeah, wow.
like every time I've probably messed up in some. I mean, they'll tell you, right? Like I've messed up in some ways, but learned in others, right? But I think like that idea of emotions is actually really big, right? Because you're a man, he's a kid, he's a boy, right? So like, as you're raising him, I think that's a really an interesting thing of how culture can influence how we then address emotions, how we look at emotions, how we experience them. And I mean, Is that a hard thing for you to talk to him about emotions, or is that something that's been easy for you?
It's been pretty easy so far, but he's only 4. I think identity is going to be interesting for him. You know,
Yeah.
like he says, I'm Pakistani, right? But like that's a complicated concept because we're also American. There's little things like that, you know, where trying to like he's like, I like chai, you know, like so he's like more brown than I am. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure a lot of that stuff out. Like my wife could probably answer some of these questions too, because we're honest to God, every day we're like having a conversation, like, did we handle that right? Are we doing this?
I love that. But and it is like you'll figure it out along the way. But it's great to have a partner in the process who
Yeah.
is aligning in that growth and evolution and figuring things out.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do we keep following you? Any big things coming up that you want to share with us? We got the film coming up and then your
Yep.
show.
So my Browntown show is on April 23rd at the DC Improv. It's called Browntown. It's got my picture on it, and it's going to be we got some great comics from New York, from here in DC. We got a funny token white comic who's great as well, and it's just going to be really great. It's going to be like 300 people. It will sell out, so that's the big one. You can follow me on Instagram at Badr Tareen. That's BADAR Tareen, TAREEN. I'm working on my film. That's kind of the big thing I'm doing. So we're going to start shooting that in June. Hopefully finish it by the end of this year. It's going to be a full-length feature film. It's not a short film. So we actually want an 1.5-hour film that you can go see in theaters. So my stand-up comedy has been funding that. So yeah.
Nice. I love it. Go and support Badr for sure. Thank you so much, Badr. Like this was really great. Your setup, your stand-up was awesome.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we
you so much.
appreciate you sharing your story. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you. And we're going to transition. Am I going right into things? We good? We good? Okay. All right. So, before we move on to the amazing musical guests we have in just a few moments, whom you've already got a great taste of. Love you, Emma G. We've got former guests here, and what I'd love to do is offer them the floor. First, I'm going to shout out some of my friends here so that we know. And I've got them here. I got my list. I'm going to go through this. Friends who are here. So we have the pleasure of having season 1, season 2, and season 3 and 4. I think I saw 4 here too. Guests. That is amazing. This has been such a journey for me in this process, because the beautiful thing is not only are you learning as the audience who watches the show, which you're now going to be watching every Sunday at 8 o'clock, right? Everybody is. Yes, of course. Every Sunday, 8 o'clock p.m. on the YouTube channel, Brown Girl Interrupting. And I didn't get to say it yet, but also on the iRant Network, because everything here is on the iRant Network, whom the founder of is right here, Mr. M, Mr. Logic, the most amazing.
Where is the iRant Network?
And the iRant Network is on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. Where else am I saying?
Roku Television.
Roku Television, yes. Well, Fire TV.
And more importantly, embedded into Brown Girls Interrupted website. So if you go to her website, there's a page for BGI TV where you can see Brown Girls Interrupted 24 hours of the day, and that's what's playing right here.
Thank you.
There's other shows on there as well. One hosted by M&G.
Woohoo!
Love to Shahari, who could
Shahari.
think, but Silence Kills, a show about domestic violence, is on BGI TV. Hopefully Miko show is gonna be on BGI TV.
Yes.
Woohoo! Yeah, so let's support Maria and her network, BGI TV.
Thank you. And in that vein, there is a relaunch. This is a party to me. This event is also coinciding with the relaunch of my website, which you will also see everything that I've been talking about tonight, the show, BGI TV, my blog, which if you like the story at the beginning, I talk about the whole story on my blog. Please go and visit www.browngirlinterrupting.com and subscribe so you are getting everything and just see all the work that I've been doing. So season 1 is where we kicked off in January of 2022. And 2 of my guests from season 1 are here, Adila Abbasi and Jamin Johnson. Woo-hoo! from small wooden box concerts. I love it. In season 2, I had Noelle Potter Zafir from Beauty Cubed and a professional model. Woohoo! Emma G, fabulous singer-songwriter and youth empowerment coach and bestie of Kaya, as you can see. Miko Reed, a spoken word artist, also a podcaster, and so much more. And in season 3, I had Troy Body. Troy Body, where you at? I can't see everybody here, but I know you're here. Who is the founder of the East Coast Racial Equity Group, Portia Vanderhorst, who didn't get to be here, but she was education consulting for Joy and Justice. And in season 4, I saw him here. Are you still here? Come on. Oh, he just walked out. There is our season 4 most recent episode was with Kimon Freeman, who is the founder of We Act Radio and just ran recently for the position of DC Congress and on the Green Party. And he's an amazing person. Make sure you go follow him as well. Shout out to all of the amazing guests. So not only did we capture their stories, they gave tools to the audience and they gave tools to me. But what I would love to do is hear from them. So if any of my former guests want to come up and just share a little bit about your experience of Pain to Power, please come and take the floor.
No pressure.
No pressure. But we'd love to hear from you. All the pressure, because you got to tell us.
We got 2 halves of the meaning of the whole podcast.
We got
2 halves. 2 1 half. Yeah, I'm bugging.
And thank you.
C-Dot and G. I just want to say
Thank you. Our iRant Network family, we got C-Dot and we got G. Thank you so much for remembering that. 2 out of 4. And that's another show, the memeing of it all. Yes, memeing of it all. That's C-Dot right there. Give me a wave, C-Dot. That is her podcast. Make sure you go and follow her. Go to the iRant Network and you're going to see all the podcasts. If you want something funny, you got it. If you want something serious, Emma G has her podcast on there as well. Miko's about to have hers on there too. And where's Trini? Trini's here. Where's she at? Where's Trini? There you go, Trini. Give a shout out. She was also a guest. And can I say Trini is part of this story because it was Trini that first introduced me to even potentially seeing myself as a host on anything, because she had the podcast Better Minds and invited me to be her co-host. And eventually it became Better Minds Interrupting. And it was a beautiful run where she is the spiritual guru of all things. And I was just making it. So thank you so much. And happy birthday. It is her birthday today. And I know we got some other January birthdays in here. Since we're here, I'm going to let you talk in a second. January birthdays, since we're there. Who are my January birthdays? I got January birthdays right here.
Right here.
Woohoo.
Right here.
Woohoo. And me. This is my birth of January. All right, Adila.
I can't wait too early. I didn't want to leave you hanging.
No,
You're good. Legit. Well, yeah, I had to come up because I am one of her biggest fans. And I've known her since we were like 10-ish. And so other than the stories of headbanging in people's basements, we go so far back, and so exciting to see all the things that she's created. And when she called me to invite me to be on the podcast, it offered me a moment to think, what am I going to talk about? What's my pain to power? And so I really had to reflect and understand how my creative outlet was my pain to power. It was my powerful move, right? And it not something I monetize, but something I do out of love and, a part-time thing. But was so excited to be able to talk about it with Jamin, who also does the concert series with me, and our friend who's living his best life in Paris right now. Rima's in Paris. Yeah, I love that for him. And the three of us just got together and did this really exciting project. And it really, the way it filled my heart is something that I can't compare it to anything else in my life. And I love that. And I loved being able to be thoughtful about what is my pain to power, and finding that my creative outlet is so important to me and I need it in my life. And on that note, I got a message on my way here that my next project got greenlit. So everybody follow Adila_designs to see what's coming. But that's really exciting. And I'm so inspired by Maria. She is just like, you really, I mean, the amount of projects she just listed alone was like overwhelming. So I don't know how she does it. And she's a mother of 4. Like, what? I have no idea. And look at her. Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you,
Yes.
thank you, and
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you. Oh yeah, what about my pain to power? So we started. Well, there's a lot of pain. There's just a history of so many things, and then again, like you spoke to some of the things: being Pakistani, being raised Muslim, being a screaming Pakistani in the back of a comedy show, and having children, being divorced, all of those things kind of culminating and living my life and just trying to understand how do you heal through all of that. And my creativity was my pain was just life. And then my power came in the form of just being able to have a creative outlet and being able to really put energy into something that I love and shape and form something that I enjoy that then others can come and enjoy with me. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a concert series. So producing shows essentially is producing shows, music, storytelling, curating musicians, bringing them together for powerful shows, and just being able to put it all together. Yeah.
Adila_design.
Yes. Oh my God. Don't you guys just love her? Like, oh my God. Thank you. Oh, I'm not curating. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Miko Reed on Instagram, Miss Miko Reed, and Boots to Heels _ podcast on Instagram. Boots to Heels is my best friend and I. Yes, that her name is Nikki. It's Nikki and Miko. We are retired Army vets, and we can clap now. So we're retired, and then we're in corporate America, and so hence Boots to Heels. But oh my God, she got me. You were the first podcast that I'd ever been on, ever in my big old life, ever. And thank you, because it was right on the heels of my divorce. And I'm not even sure if my divorce was final when I went on, but I was in so much pain because it's not like I initiated it, right? It happened. And that's like 18 years of marriage, 2 kids, right on the cusp of my dad dying. So you're talking about layers of pain, right? And just to like have this space to speak about it and unpack and move to power, which I feel like you were really the catalyst for that. And I just want to say thank you. Like seriously. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. I am doing this amazing podcast, and I hope you guys, if you don't mind, if you guys could like subscribe and hopefully on that network.
Can I plug for you?
Yeah.
They are the most dynamic 2 women, and they are hilarious, but also so well lived in both these experiences of this balance. So it's like watching your besties and they're like real honest conversations on life, but also learning some things along the way.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So like we're 50 and over. And so like that's where that comes from. And so yeah. That's us. And it's hot right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we're doing. Somebody talked about hot flash. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you. And hopefully that we can, connect again and start doing some things. I am also a spoken word artist. So they okay. I will. They this one.
There you go.
Pink.
Right there, the mic is ready.
gum. Okay. I wrote this after the divorce. They think they leave you broken, in time frozen, with the life you once had and the future juxtaposing. That capsule I cracked, time exploding, got stuck in my throat, choke holding, body folding, absorbing. I brought myself back. That's called remolding. Affirmed myself daily, shot group tight. That's called remolding. I am ethereal. I'm not gonna, it's kind of some words in there. I gotta, Cortell got the baby. I am ethereal. I am purple silk and royal velvet, queen's material. I am plenty. That's called abundance. Get into me. Depleted no more. I am a woman's deity. You can call that shit a double entendre with a dash of fuckery, so don't fuck with me. Because I am good trouble. I am my daddy's dreams. I am Candy. I am Kim. I am every little fiber that breathed life into them. Arose from the concrete, I rose. Y'all can call that a cliche. Whole nations built by she. Imagine someone trying to destroy what God has built from the rib. Help me out with some snaps, because people be on the spot. Okay. Yeah, we are purple silk and royal velvet. I don't understand. I am plenty. That's called abundance. Get into me. Depleted no more. I am a woman's deity. You can call that a double entendre with a dash. Don't me. I am good trouble. I am my daddy's dreams. I am Candy. I'm Kim. I'm every single fiber to breathe life into them. That's all I got, y'all. That's all I remember. I'm sorry. But so on February 21st, I have a show. It's called Melanin Hues, and it's at Tacoma Station. It's in Tacoma. Go on my website and my Instagram, and you can find out exactly where it is, because clearly I don't know, but it's happening and it's free. And yeah, I hope you guys come out. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Nico. You a guest and a co-host? All right, we got Trini coming to the stage. Give us a big round of applause. It's her birthday. And as she's walking up, I just have to say thank you so much, Miko. What you said to me is what my goal of this show has always been. I have envisioned that we create a space, and I create a space for others to heal through the vulnerability and honesty of the stories that they hear, that it is possible to move through pain and find our power. And I love what you said, because that is it. Good to see you. You look fabulous.
I see we got the same color. We always do this. We have always done it. No discussion. It's just pop up, and you've been in my closet. But Maria, yeah, she was not always this outspoken, very shy. And I was just like, come on, girl. We're just going to record and just talk. She'd be like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to. Ask your questions. Be yourself. And she has grown to be this beautiful podcast doing her thing, and I am so proud of her. Well, I had to slow down some things. I'm a mom of 7. And I'll be graduating in April with my bachelor's. One step at a time. I still do my show on YouTube called Better Minds Evolving. And it's getting into your psyche, making you think while we do certain things, and what's the actual psychology behind it. I still do that. I also make healing soaps and candles, and they're good for you.
Where do we find it?
You'll find it on bettermindsmarket.com.
It's market.
Mm-hmm. And that's, you'll follow me I'm on TikTok, Better Minds. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Haven't been doing too much, as I'm saying, I'm getting my studies in right now. But I'll be back, and y'all can see from time to time I'll pop in and I'll pop out. And that's pretty much all I'm doing.
Thank you. That's all you're doing.
That's
That's
all.
a lot. That's a lot.
That's all I'm doing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we wish the best of luck on all of it for you. Go and follow Trini, find all the things, amazing products, and great work in the podcast. Congratulations on all the things. Thank you, thank you. All right, thank you. And to all of these guests. So if you like my guests, you'll like them. Have to give a shout out. You like those guests, right? Like everybody has a dynamic story. That is what you are going to see every Sunday at 8:00 is dynamic stories of individuals and their experiences and learn tools for healing. And now I am so excited to bring this person to stage. No, you don't get to come up yet because I got to talk about you first. Emma is amazing. I met Emma when she came on my show. And after that show, she contacted me and we became friends. Like it was business and then it was friends. And I have since then attended her wedding, gone to Fiji and been a part of her family wedding. And she has become, like I said, besties with my little one here, who is, her person. She's an amazing soul, and she is a true story of pain to power. She lights up a room. Anybody who's had a conversation with her today, right? She is a one and only person. Emma is a singer, a songwriter, and a youth empowerment coach, healing the world with music and song, and has an upcoming single coming out called Grieve. And she's going to be sharing her music with us now. So you get a taste of some new music from Emma G, the most amazing and brilliant woman.
Okay. Hello, everybody, again. I feel like after the interviews, I need to up my game. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm not Muslim, although my family was, half my family, quarter of my family are. They're from Iran. They now live in Los Angeles. The other quarter of my family is from Norway. They live in Iowa. I just had a belated Christmas there at -3 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not human. I don't recommend. My coloring comes from Fiji, where my father was from, and I was born in New Zealand. I tell people that I'm overcoming racism in one body. I recently came back from tour with the Hard Rock Cafe around the country, and that joke went down really awkwardly in Mississippi. No, seriously, they what's the word when they no, not self-deprecate, when they all the colored folk were on one side of the room and all the white folk were on segregation. Thank you. They self-segregated. I don't come from racist countries, okay? It's a wild ride living here. Okay, so pain to power. So I think people often have a habit of looking at folk like myself and Maria and thinking, oh, they smile all the time. There's nothing, there's no hurt there. There's no pain there. There's no lessons learned there. There's just, happiness and haha. And what the truck do I know? Sorry, Kaya. I will not cuss in front of you, okay? I promise. Pardon? I know you can hear me. That's why I'm not going to cuss. Okay, so of course, when you meet people, you never know what their story is. You never know what burdens they've overcome. You never know what trauma they've experienced. I don't hazard to guess that any of you know anything about me, correct? Except for you. I know him. We met once in a land far, far away. Thank you. I'm not funny, but I appreciate it. So I was born with a relatively rare brain condition called hydrocephalus. So by the time I was 12, I'd had 10 brain surgeries. That is my pain to power story. Well, one of. And then, of course, being a young woman growing up in the world that we try to protect our young women from, let's just say I learned what it means to be seen and not heard. You talked earlier this evening, Maria, about being told that you needed to be in the care of men. It's unfortunate that is the case because sometimes those men like to take advantage of their position. So that was my story. Another part of my story. We're all layered. We're all layered. We all have multidimensional stories, and I hate the fact that so many of us try to get boxed into this one narrative of who we are, what we experience, how we need to show up in the world, and how to live our lives. So yes, I'm a youth empowerment through songwriting coach because it is my belief that we are not one story. We are not one song. We are an album. Each and every single one of us. In fact, I've got several. You can buy some here. All by donation. I don't have a price range on anything, but no, but seriously, I feel like, every single person, we learn, we evolve, we grow, we experience, we thrive, and our identities shift as we develop into the new set of cells. Did you know, in fact, Kaya, that every 7 years, your entire cell body changes? The person you're going to be in 7 years cellularly is going to be completely different to the person you are right now. True story. #science. But what that means is, on a cellular level, yes, we are different people. But on an emotional level, on an intellectual level, on an experiential level, on an identity level, that also we can give ourselves permission to change and evolve and grow. So on that note, I would like to sing you guys 3 songs that kind of encapsulate some of my story. And I hope you like them. And if you don't, too bad, you're still here. She was a girl you wanted to know. My guitar is out of tune. I'm sorry, this is annoying me.
While we're waiting for her to tune her guitar, go follow her. Check out her album. Check out her documentary. What's the name, Gene?
It's the same name as one of my albums, called Born in Crisis.
Born in Crisis.
Good Lord. Okay, let's try that again. You guys are silly. She was the girl you wanted to know. The smile was a laugh that covered her soul. She drew you in with every note. She serenades love and hope. 'Cause every hero has a story. Without the pain, you won't have glory. Now I know you wanna give her some time. The fire burns behind her eyes. She was the one you broke with your words. Clenched fist to the wall before ripping her skirt. She'd close her eyes to block out the hurt. Smile through the tears she'd been through worse. Every hero has a story. Without the pain, you won't have glory. Now I know you wanna give sometimes. The fire burns behind her eyes. Now she's a wife, a mom, and a friend. I'm not a mother, just so we're clear. Balancing fear while building her path. She draws you in with every laugh, while telling herself she's not going back. 'Cause even in dark, there's always a light. It's not about the pain, but what's inside your mind. She draw you in every time. She's back on her feet and ready to fight. 'Cause every hero has a story. Without the pain, you won't have glory. No, I know you wanna give sometimes. The fire burns behind her eyes. The fire burns behind her eyes. Thank you. So basically, my whole thing is I have a truckload of songs, over 1,000 that I've written over the years from the age of 10 till current, that are all manifestations of my pain to power process, right? You know, I feel like we all have different learning styles, different communication styles, different, you know, love languages or whatever. By the way, I'm not a gift person. Don't ever buy me flowers. It's weird, awkward. It makes me feel awkward. For me, it's about, like, music is about my way of communicating with myself without fear of judgment, and also with my way of communicating with others about who I am. And hopefully that connects with some of you. You know, everybody, I think music is that language that overcomes shit. I had a couple of Proud Boys at a gig once come up to me and say, "We don't like your message, but we like your music." I mean, really. So, it was awkward. I'm like, you do know where you are. Okay. But I say that to mean like it's all about being honest with yourself and using music as a modality to heal. Thank you, thank you. And so that's what I do with young people, with teenagers specifically. That's my happy people are the teenagers that aren't happy. Uh, to help them sort of find the words, find the language, and find the lyrics to help themselves heal. And so this next song is a song I started writing when I was 15. I finished writing when I was 23. I recorded and released 2 years ago. It's a song called Puppet. It is about understanding the labels that we wear and kind of telling the world, nah, I don't want to be a puppet. I want to be I want to be a real girl or whatever that means. I don't know. It's loud. I'm sorry in advance. If I'm the story I tell myself. That's the wrong song. I got a little man in my head doing somersaults and telling me lies. Whispers don't swing. I got a little man in my head flirting with knives and throwing his weight tangled on a string, hanging my coat up, breaking down, forget. I'm drunk and fall in love with a mask that I've always worn. Not your puppet, baby. Forget, come and fall in love with the names that I grew up with. Not your puppet, baby. Come in the court. I got a little man in my head. He vomits abuse and questions tears. Another faceless name. I got a little girl in my head, flirting with the labels she's given herself. It's all part of the game. I got my coat up, breaking down. Forget, I'm drunk and fall in love with the mask that I've always worn. Not your puppet, baby. Forget, kind of, and fall in love with the name that I grew up with. Not your puppet, baby. Come at the I got a little dog in my head, chasing his tail just like my dreams, only just out of reach. I got a little dog in my head. He's biting back when you get too close. Don't get too close. Before I get drunk and fall in love with a mask that I've always worn. Not your puppet, baby. Before I get caught up and fall in love with the name that I grew up with. Not your puppet, baby. Forget I'm drunk and fall in love with a mask that I've always worn. Not your puppet. Forget caught up and fall in love with the name that I grew up with. Not your puppet, baby. Cutting a cord. Thank you much. Okay, this last song is a song that I wrote inspired by, I think it was Steve Harvey. I get inspiration from the weirdest places. I was listening to one of his motivational talks, you know, the ones he talks about the same thing over and over and over again. But this particular one he was quoting a Bible verse, and he was making reference in his talk about how the two most powerful words in the world are the words I am. Are we familiar with this concept? Okay, can you tell me why the words "I am" are the two most powerful words in the language, English language? Amen. Amen. So the words "I am," whatever you use after the words "I am" basically dictates your reality. A belief is just a thought you keep repeating to yourself over and over again. So if you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, if you want to be loved and happy and positive and whatever, you need to be speaking that into existence. And I think that's one of the things that music has particularly given me as somebody who has overcome so much when it comes to, like, I've lost people to suicide, I've lost people to drugs, I've been an alcoholic, I've been unhoused, I have been there and done that. I turned up to this country with $500 and I now live in Chevy Chase and I'm married and I'm like living my dream and it's awesome. Of course, I'm not at this alone. I have a wonderful community. Hello, Maria. Around me, but I think a big part of that is the fact that what we speak into existence comes to existence. So before I do this last song, I would like you guys to just close your eyes for a minute and think to yourself what your "I am" statement is. I like this. You guys actually have your eyes closed. This is good. When you've got your "I am" statement, please open your eyes. Beautiful. Okay, so this last song is my own "I am" statement. I'm going to see if I can extend this at all. Okay, is that better?
Oh yeah, you did. You hit the switch. Just hit the switch.
Oh, easy. Call tech support. I just turned the switch off. Swear to goodness, if I was white, I would be blonde. My best friend's blonde. It's okay. I can make that joke, right? That's how that works. Okay, cool. Okay, so this song to finish this show, and again, thank you to Maria for having us, for putting this all together. Thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you guys for your love, support, and just being authentically open and honest about your pain to power story. This is my manifestation of my "I am," and I may need your help at some point. Thank you. I appreciate you, Ja. If I'm a story I tell myself, you think I was talking about someone else, but I drive myself crazy with every line. I need to remind me, let me know just being alive, 'cause I'm a fighter, survivor, ready through the darkest weather, lover, forgiver, strong enough to make me better. Now I'm a testament to my truth, and I'm enough to make it through. I'm the glory of myself. I'd rather story about someone else, but I drive myself crazy with every rhyme. I need to remind me what it means to love myself, cause I'm a fighter, survivor, and made it through the darkest weather. Lover, forgiver, strong enough to make me better, and I'm a testament to myself, and I'm enough to make it through. I'm rewriting the script inside my head. I am the love that I want again. I am a light of compassion and truth. Winning the war and breaking the rules. Holding street close to my heart. I'm giving my all while making my mark. I'm enough, I simply, baby. Okay, you guys ready? I'm gonna ask you each what your I am statement is. If you want to, volunteer yourself, by all means, put your hands up. Okay, you are. I am strong. I love that. What was that? More than a conqueror. Ooh, girl, say it louder. Okay, what else? What do we got here? I am confident. I like it. I am enough. I am. Hot, she says. I am a survivor, made through the darkest weather. Forgiver, strong enough to make me better, and I'm a testament to myself, and I'm enough to make it through. I am a survivor, made through the darkest weather. Forgiver, strong enough to make me better, and I'm a testament to myself, and I'm enough to make it through. Thank you guys so much. Turn that up again. What the hell I'm doing? Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. You guys are awesome. My name's Emma G. It rhymes with energy. I don't know why. That was purely by accident, but I think that was like divine intervention showing up. Maria, you're an angel. I have a general rule in my life. Kaya, where are you? Can you block your ears for one moment, please? Thank you. I have a general rule in my life that if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. You're good, darling. Okay. And Maria to me is definitely an epitome of the former. And I'm so honored that you guys all recognize that about her as well. I hope that you recognize that about each other. I hope that you recognize that about yourself. Be good, be strong, be kind. Spread love like it's going out of fashion, because if we're not careful, it will. So until next time, don't forget to floss.
Thank you. Give it up for Emma G and her fabulousness. Thank you to everybody. Oh, I just took something apart. I'm not going to mess with that. I don't know. That wasn't good. Like, my technical skills are even worse than yours. You're breaking. I might have just broken something. All right. I am in the field. Like, I am so excited about this evening. I am a visionary. And I am a change maker, and I really have envisioned from the beginning, when I told you my story from 2000, what I think can happen and be. And this is what I really believed can happen and be, which is that to truly change things in the world, to truly make the impacts that we need to. Oh, is that why it wasn't working? To make the impact we need to. We must heal ourselves. We walk around in pain and we put that pain on others. And that is where oppression and marginalization and hatred and all of it comes from. Healing is the tool to break the cycles. And I hope that you continue to heal in community together. Here, stay for the rest of the evening. It opens up at 10 o'clock to a club. I plan to celebrate my birthday tonight, so please stay and stay with me. And we got some other January birthdays if they want to stay and celebrate as well. And it is our power. It is our power because pain is inevitable. It is important to understand it, to examine it, to be curious about it. But the goal is to move to our power and know how much we have in it. So follow all of us. Thank you so much to all of my guests, Rolla Z, the amazing Brother Tareen. I don't know, he left. He's not here anymore. Brother, and Emma G, of course. And thank you. Oh, Grindstone. Thank you. It's so good to see you. Also, he was a former guest in season 3. Grindstone International. It's amazing. Go follow him. Thank you so much for being here. I got to be on his live and we shared a little bit more. You can find out how his experience of Pain to Power was through our conversation. And thank you too. I cannot walk away without saying thank you to this man. You know you hate it. I know you hate it. I see it. You're like, don't say me. It's not me. It's him. It's him. It is his vision that has brought the iRant network to what it is. It is his vision that he truly said to me. He called me up. I mean, the story is he literally called me up and he's like, I want you to have a show, like a, what'd you say, a channel on my network? And I'm like, a channel of what? Like, for what? Like, who am I? Why would I have a channel of anything? Like, I didn't see any of it. And you saw it all. And having people believe in me is what keeps me going. I have been breaking while building for 25 years. So this is everything. Thank you for being here. And to have my daughter watch me is amazing. So thank you.
My world has slowly crumbled around me countless times, and every time I rebuild with the pieces I've been given to birth something so transformational and beautiful that no one else knew might exist before it was shown to them. These moments tend to coincide within my romantic path. The universe has been telling me to focus on the revolution and not romance. It has over time given me the tools, resilience, and light to turn my pain into power. And only now do I see that the key to this always resided in the love and knowing I had in myself, not from the external sources of family or men. The message I have been avoiding might be that my time in this world I had existed in was not to receive love, but to put it out there for others to see, feel, and heal through. Revolution before romance moves pain into power.